drawn and redrawn, the making of India's internal boundaries.
Hi, and welcome back to India's State Stories, a project that explores the evolution of India's political and administrative boundaries. This project is supported by the Center for Legislative Education and Research, Flame University, Pune.
Now we turn towards the last set of princely states that became the Part C states. These were the unique territories that were governed directly by the central government through a chief commissioner. This status was reserved for such states that were either deemed underdeveloped or held strategic importance. They were also generally intended as temporary arrangements later to be merged into either Part A or B states. The following episodes take a careful look at each Part C state and the story behind its formation. Listen to the first 3 episodes of Season 2 to understand a deeper context. These episodes give an overview of the entire process of integration, along with an introduction to the legal instruments and some key personalities which made it possible. More details are in the show notes below, and let's dive in.
A newly independent nation, India, right after partition. It's grappling with this monumental task, uniting hundreds, literally hundreds, of diverse princely states.
It's an incredible challenge, isn't it? You've got politics, culture, language, logistics, everything converging.
Absolutely. And today, we're taking a deep dive into one specific, fascinating part of that story. It's about how this cluster of small, maybe often overlooked states in the Himalayan foothills, how they came together to form what we now know as Himachal Pradesh. We're going to explore the challenges they face, these East Punjab Hill States. We'll get into the unique hurdles that Bilaspur presented.
Right.
And look at the key figures, the solutions, some quite ingenious, actually, that shape their future. The materials you've shared really bring this critical moment to life.
And what's so striking here, I think, is how these regional stories, they're like microcosms, you know? They reflect the larger nation-building project perfectly.
That's a great way to put it.
It really brings up that fundamental question. How do you persuade rulers, some with like centuries of autonomy behind them, to cede their power for this bigger unified idea? Our deep dive today, it's not just about the what happened, it's about the strategic why these specific integrations worked.
Okay, so let's set the scene. These East Punjab Hill States, before independence, it was a collection of, 21 princely states and 9 feudatory states.
That's right. And maybe we should quickly explain feudatory states for listeners.
Good idea. They were essentially smaller territories, sort of semi-autonomous, often under a larger princely state, less direct British oversight compared to the main princely state.
Exactly. Adds another layer of complexity, really.
Definitely. And together, this whole area was, it was significant. Roughly 11,000 square miles, home to over 1 million people. But, and this is important, these weren't wealthy areas. The sources make that very clear. Poverty, lack of development, just a real absence of basic things.
Like roads, schools, hospitals, even basic administration was lacking in many places.
Yeah, and historically, they dealt with things like Gurkha invasions before coming under British protection. So there's this whole backdrop of vulnerability and a unique identity.
And that background is absolutely crucial because it highlights the enormous challenge facing the new Indian government.
Right.
These weren't just small territories on a map. They were pockets of, you could say, administrative vacuum, potential instability, real need.
So leaving them isolated wasn't really an option.
Not at all. Or just trying to, fold them into existing provinces without a clear plan. That would create huge administrative headaches, security risks, too, for a country just finding its feet after partition.
Yeah, makes sense. They couldn't afford that kind of chaos.
Precisely.
Now, within this group of states, 5 were more prominent. The salute states.
Yes, the British-era ranking system.
Exactly, based on ceremonial gun salutes. So you had Chamba, Mandi, Sirmur, and Sukit. They were 11-gun hereditary salute states.
Meaning the title and salute passed down.
Right. And then Bashar, which had a 9-gun personal salute. So these are the bigger players, so to speak. After August 15th, 1947, things didn't unfold uniformly. Some states, like Sukit and Balsan, they saw the way things were going and merged with India pretty quickly, voluntarily.
Sensible, perhaps.
But others, like Chamba, it wasn't so simple. Our sources talk about significant public unrest there, people actually demanding integration.
That's fascinating. So it wasn't just political deals at the top.
Not entirely. The ruler in Chamba apparently struggled to maintain order because of this popular pressure. It needed police even military help, for a peaceful transition.
So the will of the people was a real factor, a bottom-up push alongside the top-down strategy.
Absolutely. It shows the integration wasn't just dictated from Delhi. Local dynamics, democratic movements, they were pushing too.
Which probably sped things up in some cases, especially with rulers who might have been dragging their feet.
Yeah, quite possibly. So you have these states, varying situations. The big question is, what happens next administratively?
Where do they fit in?
Exactly. The obvious idea, maybe, was merge them with neighboring East Punjab.
Seems logical on the surface.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting, the rulers and the people of these hill states, they strongly rejected that idea.
Really? Why was that?
Well, their arguments were pretty compelling. They pointed to distinct linguistic differences, cultural differences, even geographical ones compared to the Punjab plains.
So it wasn't just stubbornness. It was about identity.
Very much so. A real sense that their unique identity, different dialects, customs, the whole mountain environment would just get lost, swallowed up by Punjab.
And you can see their point. The administrative challenges of mountains versus plains are totally different.
Totally.
And that identity piece, as you said, was critical. It wasn't just sentiment. It created a real problem for the government.
How so?
Well, it showed that integration couldn't just be a bulldozer approach. You couldn't force states together if there wasn't some basic compatibility or acceptance.
Right. It would just lead to friction later on.
Exactly. Ongoing resentment. And the new government, already dealing with the aftermath of partition, desperately needed stability. They had to be pragmatic. Recognizing distinct identities was part of ensuring that long-term stability.
And there was another layer, too, a very practical one. East Punjab itself was in a terrible state.
Because of partition?
Yes, it bore the brunt of it, the violence, the refugees, the collapsed administration. It was completely overwhelmed.
So it had no capacity to take on more.
Pretty much. Absorbing the administrative burden, the developmental burden of these poor, underdeveloped hill states, it just wasn't feasible for East Punjab at that moment.
Right. So you have local resistance based on identity, and the proposed receiving state is simply unable to cope.
A double whammy.
It really forced the issue. A new approach was needed, something creative. The goal wasn't just lines on a map, it was stable governance, it was development.
Which brings us to V.P. Menon.
The key architect.
Indeed. The administrative brain behind so much of the integration process. He comes in at this crucial meeting, March 2nd, 1948.
And he has a different idea.
A radical one, but pragmatic. He proposes merging these states, not with Punjab, but into a single unit administered centrally by the government of India directly.
Why centrally? What was his reasoning?
His argument was compelling. He said a union of just these small states wouldn't have, quote, survival value on its own.
Survival value? What did he mean by that, practically?
Basically, that individually or even grouped together, these tiny states just didn't have the resources, financial, administrative personnel to govern themselves effectively.
Let alone develop themselves.
Exactly. They couldn't undertake the huge task of lifting their people out of poverty. They were just too small, too underdeveloped to be viable on their own.
That's a sharp assessment. So rather than create weak mini-states or burden Punjab,
centralize it. Direct administration by Delhi, overseen by a chief commissioner, maybe later a lieutenant governor. That, he argued, was the path to development and stability.
It's pooling national resources, national expertise to tackle a regional problem. Smart.
And surprisingly, perhaps, the rulers accepted it. The Raja of Mandi spoke for them, and they agreed.
Was there any concession?
Yes. Menon was clever. He agreed to form an advisory council with 3 rulers on it. It gave them a voice, some formal role, even if not power.
A gesture of respect, continuity.
Precisely. And things moved fast. Just 6 days later, March 8th, 1948, they signed the Instrument of Merger.
The legal document.
Yes, ceding, quote, full and exclusive authority, jurisdiction, and powers to the Dominion government. It was done. And so April 15th, 1948, Himachal Pradesh is born, inaugurated as a chief commissioner's province.
Which means directly run by the central government, like a union territory today, essentially.
Had full central control. Later, its status got upgraded. Lieutenant governor, its own legislature, ministry. A path towards more self-governance.
So it wasn't meant to be permanent central rule, but a phased approach.
Exactly. It gave people a pathway to statehood eventually.
You know, that decision really was a bit of a masterstroke, wasn't it? Administratively efficient, strategically sound for development. Well, by centralizing control, Delhi could pump in resources and expertise directly. It bypassed the fragmented, often weak administrations of the old princely states.
Ah, I see, a unified approach.
Yeah, a unified vision for progress for these areas that have been neglected for so long. And it set a kind of precedent, too, for handling small, maybe economically unviable states.
And it's interesting, there wasn't a specific standstill agreement signed here.
Those agreements that usually kept services like post and telegraph running?
Yeah, but the merger itself implied the continuity. The idea was, don't disrupt essential services for the people during the transition.
Makes sense. Keep things running smoothly.
Okay, so while all that's happening with the main group of hill states, there's this other situation brewing. Bilaspur.
Ah, the special case.
Right. Geographically, it's right there in the same region. About 450 square miles, maybe 100,000 people. Rajput rulers, 11-gun salute state for its Raja, Himchand.
Based on loyalty during the 1857 mutiny, wasn't it?
That's the story, yes. But like the others, it lacked resources, needed investment. Basic amenities were poor.
But the Raja wasn't keen to merge initially.
Not at all. He was a strong holdout, declared he wanted to stay independent, even said something like he'd fight to protect itself.
That's bold, given the circumstances.
Very. Lord Mountbatten himself apparently weighed in on cases like this, basically saying small states couldn't realistically remain independent for geographic and economic reasons. Independence wasn't really on the table long term.
It highlights that balance again, doesn't it? Preferring voluntary accession, but ultimately needing national stability. A landlocked state like Bilaspur, independence was probably never viable.
True. Its future was tied to India's. But then things got really complicated.
A dam.
The Bhakra Dam project. This wasn't just any dam. It was colossal. A multi-purpose project of huge national importance.
Irrigation, power generation, vital for multiple states.
Exactly. And it was located right there in Bilaspur territory over the Sutlej River. And here's the kicker.
Go on.
A big chunk of Bilaspur estate, including the capital town, even the Raja's palace, was going to be submerged when the dam was built.
Wow. Okay, that changes everything.
Completely.
Because now you have this critical national asset impacting multiple states, physically located in a state whose ruler wants independence.
Precisely. Who controls it? Before partition, Punjab province had been negotiating with Bilaspur about building it.
But giving post-partition Punjab sole control.
That was seen as unfair. They'd control the water distribution. What about the other beneficiaries like PPU, the Patiala, and East Punjab States Union and Rajasthan?
Right, PPU itself was a major entity, a union of princely states. They needed that water too.
So that was one problem. The other was legal. Under the old Government of India Act of 1935, which was still largely in effect.
The central government didn't actually have the power to directly control big multi-purpose river projects like this?
Exactly. That power would only come with a new constitution, which wasn't finalized yet. So a legal vacuum for a project this big.
A major governance headache. You need coordination, fair distribution.
Absolutely. So given all this, the fairness issue, the legal gap, direct central control seemed the only answer.
And VP Menon steps in again.
You guessed it, ever the pragmatist. He suggests taking over Bilaspur as a separate chief commissioner's province. That would give Delhi the final say on the dam project.
Makes sense. Solves the control issue.
And importantly, it was also seen as crucial for the people of Bilaspur. Ensures the central government is directly responsible for resettlement, compensation, managing things until the dam is done.
So faced with this overwhelming national interest, the dam, the legal issues, the Raja had to concede.
It seems so. On August 15th, 1948, exactly a year after independence, he signed his own merger agreement. Full authority ceded.
And the administration was formally transferred a bit later.
October 12th, 1948. Bilaspur becomes its own centrally administered unit, governed under that Extra-Provincial Jurisdiction Act of 1947.
Ah, yes, that act. The legal tool they used for territories in transition before the Constitution was fully in place. A crucial stopgap.
Exactly. It allowed the center to govern areas outside the normal provincial setup.
So Bilaspur stayed separate for a while.
Yes, for several years, precisely because of the ongoing dam project complexities. It finally merged with Himachal Pradesh only in 1954.
Bringing it fully into the fold with the other hill states.
Right.
You know, the Bilaspur story is really remarkable. How one massive infrastructure project basically determine the political fate of a state.
It really is.
It shows how national projects like Bhakra weren't just about concrete and electricity. They were geopolitical tools. They reshaped the map.
And establish central control over vital resources.
Exactly. Setting precedents, showing flexibility, prioritizing national development, but crucially with that promise of compensation and managing the human impact.
So if we zoom out again, look at the whole picture of integrating these hill states, including Bilaspur.
Yeah.
What was the common thread that made it work?
Well, beyond the strategic necessity and clever administration, a huge factor was the grand bargain, as you called it earlier.
The guarantees given to the rulers.
Yes. The willingness of the rulers to accept things like privy purses, essentially annual payments from the government, and guarantees about keeping their private property, their titles.
In return for giving up their actual ruling powers.
Precisely. It was a trade-off.
And those privy purses, they varied a lot, didn't they? Depending on the state's size and status.
Oh, absolutely. You had Mandi getting 220,000 rupees a year, Chamba 138,000, Surmur 135,000, substantial sums.
But then the smaller states, much less. Fiag got 20,000. Tiny ones like Mangal, Darkoti, Beja, only 3,000 rupees.
Reflects the hierarchy that existed, but that financial security was a key incentive across the board.
So this grand bargain, it was essential for a smooth transition.
Absolutely critical. It ensured India's territorial integrity, basically bought peace and stability at a very volatile time.
Avoided conflict.
Yes. It avoided potentially hundreds of small conflicts. It allowed the new government to establish its authority relatively smoothly and focus on the bigger picture of nation building. It recognized the ruler's past status while firmly establishing the new order.
And legally, the center exercised power in these areas through things like that Extra Provincial Jurisdiction Act until the new constitution provided the full framework.
Right. It was a pragmatic, step-by-step consolidation of power.
So, looking back from these quite backward East Punjab Hill states, dealing with poverty, needing basic services, to the unique case of Bilaspur, with its independent-minded Raja and that huge dam project.
Yeah.
We've traced this incredible journey. Political negotiation, smart administration, strategic compromises, all leading to Himachal Pradesh.
It really is a testament to the complexity of building a nation, isn't it?
It is.
And this deep dive, I think it really highlights the ingenuity and the sheer pragmatism that was needed.
Yeah.
Integrating hundreds of diverse states. It was an unbelievable task.
A delicate balancing act.
Totally. Balancing local identities, historical claims, asserting central control for stability, but also prioritizing national needs like infrastructure and development. They had to make tough calls, invent solutions.
Adaptive leadership, as you said.
Exactly. And the Himachal story really shows that in action.
So, as you, our listeners, reflect on this journey, maybe think about this. How do these themes, this balancing act between local autonomy and national development, especially around big infrastructure projects, how do they echo in governance today?
That's a great question. Still very relevant.
What stands out to you about how these decisions, made right back then in the intense period after independence, how they shaped the modern map, the administration of India, something to mull over?